Well, good afternoon again, YouTube. Got Kenny back with you again on a Sunday afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about bugging out today. Wanted to show you a little bit of the contents of the bug out bag. I'm going to go over this bug out bag in great detail in another video, but just a little background. A few of the things that I keep inside my bug out bag. But for today, let's talk about the actual art of bugging out and the science behind it, when and when not to do it. So you think it's time to bug out. You got your bag all ready, it's packed, it's been sitting by the bedside or it's been in the closet, and you wake up this morning and find out on the news that it's finally hit. The balloon has gone up, as they say. There's been a run on the banks. Gas jumped up to $10 a gallon. People are losing their minds. And you think it's time to get out. Well, that may not always be the choice at the time. The right choice, I should say. There's a lot of factors that are going to go into the decision on whether or not to bug out. And a lot of that goes back to the old thing, location, location, location. If you're in the country and you've got some acreage, and you got, I don't know if you can see the cows in the background back there, you got you got cows to milk, and you got beef close by, and you got 150 acres full of deer, and you got a creek running through your property, and bugging out may not be your best option. Bugging in may be what you need to do. It all depends on where you're at and the situation. Now, will there be instances where I will bug out of even this location? Oh yes, guarantee that. Even though I'm out in the country on a gravel road and I have what I need here, I'm only 7 miles from a town of 100,000 population, a very liberal town, a college town, a town that I know will lose their flippin' minds when stuff finally goes over the edge. And they will eat themselves alive in that town because it's pretty much anti-gun. It's very liberal, being a college town. So my first advice is not new advice to any of you that have started doing any sort of prepping. And that is, if you live in a city, any town that's any larger than about 20 or 25,000 people, I would get out now. I would find another place to live. I would get out in the country. I would at least get near a small town. I'm talking 10,000 or less, preferably 1,000 or less. If you're anywhere near a larger city and you're living in that city, your probably first plan anytime anything happens should be to get out. You're going to have a plan of where you're going to go. So be thinking about that. Do you have family that lives in other places? Do you have family in the country? Do you have family that's near one of those smaller communities? I'm going to be honest with you folks, this stuff's been going downhill for many, many years. This is stuff that you should have been thinking about a long, long time ago. You're running out of time if you don't have this plan put together yet. There's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of time before the old balloon goes up, and you're going to be forced to make that decision, and off you go. You better have a place to go. Jumping in your vehicle with a couple of Rubbermaid totes full of MREs and your cell phone, your laptop, and your bug out bag, you better have an idea of where you're going, how you're going to get there, and what you're going to do when you do get there. So there are several ways of going about bugging out. I think when it gets down to it, you better plan on designing your bug out around being on foot. Because especially if you live in the larger cities, the traffic will be a mess. Depending on how large the city is, the city may be on lockdown. You may not be able to get out of that city in a vehicle. So first and foremost, be thinking about your physical fitness to make sure you can make that sort of trip. Make sure you've got your gear as light as possible so you can make that trip. My bug out bag has been an evolving thing. I first built it 10 years ago. And over the last couple of years, as I really studied this stuff more and more and started taking to heart all of the things I've learned, all the training I've taught, all the classes I've been to, I realized that there were a lot of things in that bag that were unnecessary, that were just dead weight, that were comfort items more than anything. And so I finally decided it's time to redo this thing. It's time to get some weight off of this thing. It's time to get it down to the necessities. I look at my bug out bag as I hope I never have to use this thing ever. If I strap that thing on and I set out on foot, it's bad. It's really bad. The worst of the worst has happened. I hope I never have to use that thing. I've stripped it down to the basic essentials that will get me by for 72 hours, and that's what your bug out bag should be. It's something that you will think of, that you will only use as a last resort. It's got just the basics to get you by, just you, for 72 hours. Each person should have their own bag, each person in your family. What you put in your bag is going to depend on where you live, the type of climate you have, your personal needs. We'll talk more about that when we go over my bug out bag. I'll dump it out and show you what's in mine for this area, and it changes depending on the time of the year. But I would submit to you that it's better to get yourself situated now to be at your bug out location so that you can bug in when this hits, because it's not a matter of if anymore, it's when this hits. So get yourself situated. Find that place in the country. You can do it. It's just a matter of setting your mind to it. If you're in a city of any more than 25,000 people, I'd go. I'd get out of there now, because time is running short. Find you a better place. Find you a more rural area. Start making some connections. We'll talk about groups in another video. You can't do this stuff alone. You're going to have to get involved with a group somewhere. Security is a nightmare if you're doing this by yourself. You won't be able to do it. You're going to have a group. You can see what's been going on in the news the last couple of days with that hurricane in Texas, Hurricane Harvey. And people are having to leave their flooded homes, and my heart goes out to those people. Our prayers are with them. It's a difficult situation. They're having to leave behind just about everything, and more than likely most of the ones you see on the news that are trudging through waist-deep water with a backpack on their back, they weren't ready for this. They didn't know the first thing about preparedness. They weren't ready to do anything like this, and never thought in a million years they'd have to do it. Get a jump start on those people. Don't be one of those people that we see on the news being plucked from a rooftop because you haven't been paying attention. You've got all the time to do this if you just get on it quickly. Doesn't take much time to get the basics put together if you just make up your mind that it is a priority. Instead of the 70-inch TV, instead of the brand new vehicle, instead of the brand new house. It's just a matter of priorities. You have to decide if this is important to you or not. Is your safety and your future and the future of your family and their safety, is that important to you or not? If it is, then you start putting these things together. Watch my video that I posted called Where Do I Start? That'll give you some basic ideas. After you've got those things together in that video, and you've got basic food and water set aside for every member of the family, and you've got medical set aside, then your next step would probably be doing a bug out bag for each person in the family. And even if you don't bug out, that becomes your bug in bag with emergency supplies for each person in the family, so that they can grab that when something happens. And it doesn't have to be the stuff hitting the fan. It can be a tornado, a hurricane, a flood, whatever. But I still, I submit to you, your best course of action in anything is to be able to bug in. If you have to bug out, it's bad. It's really, really bad. Try to get yourself to the spot to where you've got your supplies and you've got your people ready to defend your supplies, so that you can stay where you're at and bug in and not have to be out there roaming around in the middle of nowhere, a sitting duck, falling prey to the weather and roaming bands of idiots who are out there trying to look for their next victim. Don't become a part of that. So we'll talk more about bug out bags in another video. I'll go over mine. We'll talk about some things that should be in it, the basics, and then you'll have to tailor it to your own needs. But watch things closely, folks. We're close to something big happening. There are millions of us who feel it and have felt it for quite some time. If you get a chance, dig around on YouTube a little bit. You'll see some of the featured channels that I'm sharing. Check out Viking Preparedness. Watch a lot of the videos from Pastor Joe. Check out Pastor Dowell, his channel, Straightway Ministries. Both of them have got a lot of great preparedness info on their channels, a lot of good advice. But the best advice that any of us can give you is you got to get started, because time is running out, quickly running out. There's a lot going on in this world. We are in the final days. You're going to have to get a lot of this stuff done. You're going to have to get it done quickly. So work on this stuff. Your family depends on it. And as always, are you ready?